Hello everybody, it's lovely to be here with you again. This is Emma back in my little creative corner here in Cumbria. Thank you for joining me here once more, and if it's your very first time here, then thank you for finding me. It's lovely to welcome you to my little place of happiness and creativity and joy and simplicity and ease. That's what it's all about this week. It's all about ease. I hope you've had a good week. I know there's lots of things going on out there in the world that are perhaps a little bit rumbustious, a little bit unsettling, and I have to say I've had a bit of a tsunami going through my own little world here. Many of you will, and I'm sure, get this, that our very old cat passed away this week, peacefully at home after about 8 months of really having a lot of difficulties, and we had to look after her a lot, especially the last few little bits. She actually stopped walking in about January time, which was really traumatic, really difficult to deal with, but actually she scooted around our kitchen on her bottom. She would scoot outside, out into the lane sometimes by herself. She would just go out there. She actually lost her sight the last few weeks, I would say, and so she was bumping around the kitchen. So it's all been a bit challenging, a bit traumatic, but actually so beautiful in a way, just to have to support her through her assisted living, I called it, and we were all involved because she had a lot of issues and it made life quite challenging at times, but there was so much love that we learned through this, that came through for her, through her to us and from us to her, and I'm sure any of you who've had animals will absolutely get this. It surprised me because I didn't have animals growing up. We had no pets at home, and I now have quite a few animals around the place, as some of you will know if you've been here for a while. We've got geese and a chicken, and got one chicken left at the moment, so she's quite funny. But every day I would take Bethany, was her name, and I would take her out wrapped up, and we'd go out for a little walk outside because that was her territory. She was a great hunter. She lived outdoors for the first few years of her life. She and her brother, they absolutely terrorised the environment out there, terrorised the little creatures and rabbits. She once caught 5 rabbits in a day. She was a very feisty, strong-willed, strong personality. She coped incredibly with what came to her latterly. And as I say, it was just lovely. She used to sit on my knee in the evening and we would just have a little cuddle, and it was lovely. So, as I say, it's been a bit of a tsunami, a bit of a woo, because you don't realise, do you, how much all of these little creatures come into your world and you mesh together like this, don't you? And then they're gone, and it's just moving through that process. So, yeah. So I'm fine. I'm just, if I need to cry, I have a little cry. It's memories. I've got lots and lots of happy memories, lots of fun memories of her and her brother, all the funny little escapades they used to get up to, all the naughty things they got up to, and it's just been lovely to share it. So I just thought, we don't talk about emotions very much, do we? Especially us British. We tend to hide it all away. As children, you're sort of taught to kind of button your lip and stick it in a suitcase and hide it in a cupboard. Don't talk about it. And I think it's really important to talk about these things because they affect us all. We're all affected by these things, and emotions are part of our world and who we are, and so to feel them is really important, to acknowledge them. It's all part of our journey here on this funny old planet. So anyway, that aside, I've had a lovely time. Thank you for all your beautiful comments last week on the moon. It was a surprise to me to make a creamy coloured moon. It just came out of nowhere, out of the background, I didn't even think it was like a night landscape I was making until somebody said that to me. So I'm grateful for all your comments. It's lovely to chat with you. I love knowing what you're doing. If you're doing anything creative, especially if it's something I don't know about, it's really interesting to learn about other things. So we're going to get on. I'm going to see what's going to happen. I think we're going to put something in the foreground. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm going to get some things out and play around. I don't know about you, but I'm very visual. I'll have to see it. I'll know it when I see it, if you know what I mean. I'll feel it and I'll see it. So I often get lots of things out that are perhaps a little bit wacky, a little bit different, a little bit unexpected sometimes, and that can actually lead to quite exciting results, can't it? If you just say, well, what if I put this with this? So As I say, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your lovely subscriptions. It's lovely to welcome new people here. I'm just so delighted. I feel like I've got lots of old friends here and we're sharing a beautiful space together. So thank you for your company. It means a great deal to me. And now, let's get on with what we're going to do today. Okay, so as I showed you last week, when we finished off, we had a lovely moon on this wintry, well, sort of wintry landscape. Maybe it's just a moonlit landscape. Maybe it's just a nighttime landscape. I loved all your suggestions and your comments and your ideas for what we could do as a foreground. And I loved how somebody spotted that this little piece of, this is Harris tweed actually, this little tiny scrap here that just fell into that place. Looks like a little dry stone wall, and I thought that's beautiful. So there was various suggestions and I liked them all, and I love how everybody sees something different. It just fascinates me. So what I'm seeing though is I think I would like a tree in the foreground, because I feel that needs to be something quite big. Somebody also suggested sort of lovely fencing, and I thought, well, that would actually be quite nice as well, possibly. And you could have a bit of both, maybe. So I've done a tree, and I've done a very dark tree here, which I put on there. But to me, that is just a bit too stark and dark. It doesn't sit well for me. So then I thought, well, I'll mess around. What if we did something a bit sort of purpley, a bit wild, a bit wacky, but a bit sort of purpley. So I kind of cut as though it's dark, but not perhaps as stark and dark as black. The black seemed to be just a bit too much. I thought, well, you can mess around with some purpley bits here. You could just, I'll take that away actually. Just play around. So this is what I do. I don't know about you, but when I'm creating like this, I just mess around. And it would be lovely to do this perhaps if you had an iPad or a tablet, what do you call it, which I don't actually have, but you could be photographing these, couldn't you, and then drawing on some colours and stuff, which would be quite good fun, I think. I also thought, well, it could be something really sort of lightening up, so you get like a light effect, so you have the pink, maybe, as though the light is landing on this sort of purplish tree and creating this sort of lovely pinkish colour. So as I was just messing around with that. The other thing I thought I would do is, I've got a frame here. I've just popped this temporarily. It's on a little canvas here. It was just, I was trying to get a sense of it as a picture. And if I actually put this around it, I think that helps, because it just sort of brings it all into focus. So I quite like that, but I'm just not sure. I feel as though that kind of fights with the background somehow. I think it would be a lovely idea, but perhaps not with this background. I don't know what you think. I'm kind of tempted, but I'm going to show you one other thing, one other possibility which I came up with. I'll just take these off here. This is what I love doing. I love just messing about. It's just so much fun. Let me just see if I can kind of square that up for you a little bit. Just pull you back a little bit. There we go. So I'll just show you what I was thinking. The other thing what I did was I just cut out a white tree. Now this is a bit sort of random. I mean, obviously it couldn't go over the moon because it would just disappear. There would be no point in it. But I thought if you actually had it over here to this sort of side, and it could even be stiff enough to kind of stick onto your frame. You know, you could have it as a, I can't think what the word is, you know, like when you do them in those box frames, you do scenes in a box frame. You could do it really, really stiff and have it actually attached to your frame. And I felt as though then it's as though the moon is shining this way into it could be the start of a woodland, or it could just be a single tree. So that is kind of what I was thinking. And I don't know if you'll agree or not, but I just felt that has potential. I felt as though then the background is what we're kind of seeing. We're letting that really shine, really show off its textures. The moon is very simple and quite shiny. And if I do something with this, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet, what materials I'm going to use, but I felt that, to me, that was just simple and I always like simple. So that's what I'm going to work with. And you'll have to let me know in the comments whether you think it's a good idea or not. But that's what we're going to work with today, and we'll see where it takes us. So I'm kind of thinking, I've taken the frame off just so I can work with it more easily. As I say, I think the tree definitely needs to be over this side, but I also wondered whether about putting on a bit of texture, not so much that it fights with the background, but just so that you've got this feeling of, you know, a tree trunk with lots of, I don't know, lichen and cracks in it, and, you know, just general treeness. I've just got these little bits of lacy stuff. I could be embellishing these onto something, I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to embellish them or stitch them. And I also picked a little bit of the lacy stuff from the moon, because I did think it might be quite nice to have a little bit of that feeling of the light reflecting off this surface and sort of shining a bit, because the moonlight is hitting it. And it's really just meant to be a little bit of magic, I feel. I feel as though it's becoming a bit of a magical landscape, this. It could be frosty as well, it could be moonlit, it could be whatever you want to make it. So I'm going to work with this. I've got to work out how exactly I'm going to make the tree, as I say, and I'm going to get on with that. So what I am thinking is, you know, when the first thing you cut out is always the best, or the first thing you do is always the best. If I try and do this tree again, I just don't think it will be as good. I did this very spontaneously and I like the shape of it. So I've trimmed it down a little bit at the bottom, and I might trim it a bit more, I'll see. And what I'm going to do is take this lovely piece, it's just a piece of stabiliser, and I'm going to put it the wrong way round, okay, onto here. Because I was thinking, well, shall I draw around it? And I thought, no, I'm going to stitch around it. And can I do it with that on the back? No. Because it's a stabiliser, it should allow me to stitch it. So then when I turn it over, I'll just show you, if I turn this then over, I'll have the tree shape stitched on there. Then I can stitch into it, add lace, and then my thinking is I'll cut it out. So, and I'll add some more stabiliser on the back when I get to the sort of turning it over and fiddling with it stage. So that's my cunning plan. You read it here first, and we'll just see how it turns out. It's all an experiment. Everything I do is quite experimental, really, because I never know quite how to do things. But it's fun, isn't it? Just not knowing how to do things is quite fun, because then, oh, I read something this morning about how not knowing all the answers means that you are, in fact, you can be much more creative because you don't know all the answers. So you go, well, how could I do this? What would work here? Rather than saying, oh, this is it, that's all I have to do is this, blah, blah. It's so much more interesting, exciting, and there's a buzz about it because I don't know. I don't know whether it's going to work, I don't know if it's going to look any good, but as I work with it, I know, you know, sort of new answers will come as I do each stage. And the important thing really is to start and just get on with it. So this is my recipe for making my tree. So I've stitched this on the back, and I'm going to turn it over now, and you can see, I hope, in fact, if I hold it up to the light, look at that, isn't that fun? I've created a sort of a silhouette effect, I rather like that. So I've got a piece of stabiliser, I've turned it over, so I've got it the right way around with the sense of how I want it to be on the piece. And I've just got three kinds of simple lace. I've got this sort of, it's slightly bobbly, slightly flowery, but it's just got a nice texture to it. I've got this to add a little bit of extra texture to it where I want it on the trunk. I'm going to use this, I think, up onto the branches as well. And then I've got a little bit, whoops, it's very stickles to me, a little bit of the shiny stuff that I had for the moon. So I'm going to just set to and stitch little pieces on and have some fun. Right, so this is all my little bits of funny bits of lace kind of cut into tiny little pieces and pinned on to the tree. No idea how it's going to work this, and I'm not going to show you me sewing it because there might well be some swearing, I don't know. I'm just going to have fun and just try and get it all held down in one place, and then I will add some of the shiny stuff as and when I think, as and where I want to put it, I think. I'm just going to see how it's going to turn out. I've no idea how it's going to turn out. I've no idea what it's going to look like when I've stitched it, but we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so That is all the lacy bits stitched down. I'm not 100% convinced by it, but I'm hoping that when I cut it out, we'll get a bit more definition around the edges, and when it goes on the background, it's going to be fine. So right here in front of you, I'm going to cut this tree out, and we're going to see what it looks like when we put it onto the piece of work. The jury is completely out on this one. I have no idea what it's going to look like, and that's it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and it's kind of quite exciting at the same time. Nothing's going to be lost, you know. This is not a major international problem here we're trying to solve. I'm just playing around with this, and we'll see what it looks like when I've cut it all out. I rather like it as I'm cutting it out. It's beginning to make more sense because we're getting this nice edge to it. Otherwise it's a bit waffly and woofly, but you know, as I say, proof of the pudding will be in when it gets slapped onto the piece of art. Okay, so here we have one sort of night landscape thing going on with a moon. I really must cut this off. Sorry, this has been annoying me for days. I must cut that bit off. There we go. And here is the tree. Now I have not yet put this on here, so I'm going to do this with you watching, just so we can all enjoy it together at the same time and see what we think. Let's just put it there. Oh, now it's really funny how when you look through a camera lens, it's a bit like taking a photograph. If I look at the screen on my camera, that just looks amazing. It really kind of frames it up. You know, it's like, as I say, when you take a photograph of something. So let me know in the comments. Do you think that works? I am more pleased with it than I thought I was going to be. I wasn't sure about it. I thought it's very kind of bobbly, but because I've cut it out and I've kept it very simple, I think it works. It's quite striking, isn't it? Anyway, you'll have to let me know. Your opinions matter to me. I'm very interested in what people see and how they see it. I'm going to have to find a way now to sort of attach it to the background in some fashion. As I say, I did quite fancy the idea of putting it on the frame. Shall we have a look at that? Let's have a look at that. Let's bring the frame over. So let's just put this frame on, just for argument's sake. We're just going to put this on because I feel as though that really pulls the whole thing together. And if there was some way I could have attached that to the frame, it kind of works. It would be quite tricky. It's almost like you'd need to make it out of wood. But I just like the way it comes off the edge there. And maybe it won't get stitched hard down. I don't know yet. I think it has to be applied to that somehow, even if that gets put onto. See if I take that off that as well. Oh, it's so interesting, isn't it? So I've got to find some way now of getting that on there, but I think it kind of works. Here is the finished little piece, and I'd love to know what you think about it. It's ever so simple. I did think about adding some sort of dark, shadowy bits on here, some sort of tree shapes or fence shapes or whatever, but actually I decided because it's so small, it really is quite tiny, that would work on a bigger piece. You could do a whole forest of trees, couldn't you, with different shading going on, and it wouldn't fight so much with the background. So I think keeping it simple was the answer. It's been a very gentle process. I put a piece of cotton curtain interlining in there and just stitched it down here and there randomly. And I love the way these little bits kind of stick out. It would be lovely framed up, but actually I like it just as it is at the moment. I think keeping these two elements simple means the background has a part to play. There's sort of an equal conversation going on there, if you like. And I'm just really pleased with it. As I say, it's been a lovely, gentle process that's got me through a period of sort of healing, and now it's done and I can move on. I do feel as though it's this beautiful night sky, beautiful night landscape, but it's all about the light, isn't it? It's really about focusing on the light. I think there's a great deal going on the planet at the moment, isn't there, that's, you know, of great concern, and a lot of dark stuff going on. So I think our role, or my role, I will speak only for me, is very much about focusing on the light, seeing the darkness, but working with the light as much as possible. So that's the message I feel this piece has for me anyway. So who knows what's going to be next? I will look forward to seeing you again in my little creative corner next week. And we'll see what's going to come out of the hat next. What colour the rabbit's going to be coming out of the hat next time? You never know. Thank you again for being here. Thanks for all your subscriptions. Look forward to your comments, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.